Hey guys, so my name is Amber and this is my group presentation 8, walking you through our whole project from lab, I think 4, where we started with this top corner, and we are going to work our way through all these worksheets, um, showing basically how we get from glucose and glycolysis to producing DNA and RNA. So to start with, this sheet here, it's going to have our glucose and our fructose, and it's going to go through this whole series of glycolysis. It does produce ATP, as we know, as well as NADH and pyruvate, which we can see down here. You've got your NADHs, your ATPs, and due to our fructokinase and our fructose 6-phosphates, which are over here, our glucose 6-phosphates, all of these are what help go down this glycolysis cycle, essentially. So from here, it brings us down into our citric acid cycle, which, as we know, takes our pyruvates through the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex down into the citric acid cycle, or the Krebs cycle, whichever you want to call it. And we will use up some of these NADHs as well as create a little bit of ATP. And from here, multiple parts of the citric acid cycle are used in other areas of this whole process, but we're going to stick to this first. So we're going to take some of these FADH2s and our NADHs that are used in here. They're going to be brought over into the electron transport chain. From here, they will go through the different complexes, essentially 1 to 4, through these reactions to be used up. So you've got your FADH2, NADH. So they're going to be used, as well as our acetyl-CoAs, to produce hydrogen. These are going, and ATP. So that's going to bring us to ATP synthase. So this, obviously, is where ATP is being synthesized into an ability to be catalyzed and being used for energy. Now, going back up to here, we have our pentose phosphate pathway. Essentially, we're wanting to produce this PRPP. So we're using, again, this glucose 6-phosphate as well as our fructose 6-phosphate, our GAPs, all of these from our glycolysis pathway, which you can see I tried as best as possible to organize these notes. So you've got your GAPs, your fructose 6-phosphates, you've got your glucose 6-phosphates. All of these are swooped back into here, as well as on this side, which is our glycogenesis pathway, and it's going from this way up, using these as well. So going back over here, this process, like I said, is our pentose phosphate pathway. This is producing our PRPP. We also have another ATP here, which I have forgotten to circle. You've got your NADHs. So from here, we've got our PRPP. This will jump us all the way over to our nucleotide synthesis. Here, you've got multiple different reactions going on. You've got your from CO2 down to your nucleotide that jumps into this cycle. Your orotate, there we go. Your orotate is brought down to here, goes through this reaction. You've got your uridylate, there we go. Uridylate brought over to here, which is your UMP. That brings you into your ribonucleotide synthesis. All of these over here are what are going to branch off. Like these are what are making your DNA and your RNA. And here's ATP, which we say multiple times throughout this cycle. And as you can see in all of my circles here, we have ATP everywhere. So this cycle here is connected with this 3-hydroxy-3-methyl-glutaril CoA, which you can also see is here. Like I said, here's your glycogenesis. So your pyruvate from glycolysis can also, from here, be used here to go down into oxalic acetate, into our alpha ketoglutarate. You've got your glutamate here, which, if we follow it, is also over here, as well as our acetyl-CoA. We have multiple acetyl-CoAs, which, if we follow this line, brings us to an acetyl-CoA here and here. Let's see. You've got your squalene down here. This process, there we go. These two are brought down into this cycle to be synthesized and to produce squalene. Your squalene then is brought over to here, and this brings us to this cycle. You've also got your fumarate, which is used from this cycle up here and can also be traced back to our citric acid cycle. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of things in the citric acid cycle that are also utilized later in this process. You've got your fumarate. I know we use the malate a lot. It is over here as well. It is going to be, where did it go? Well, it's over here in this cycle somewhere. You've got your succinyl-CoA, can be traced back to your citric acid cycle. So this whole process here, as you can see, there are multiple arrows and everything for tracing. All of these processes are connected. You've got, your, like I said, your glucose or your glycolysis, your CO2, brings you down to the citric acid Krebs cycle, electron transport chain, ATP synthase. You've got your galactose and lactose that are being brought down into the glycolysis. You've got your pentose phosphate pathway, which takes our PRPP all the way over to here where we synthesize our nucleotides. So essentially all of this is what helps ultimately produce our DNA and RNA. So yeah, thanks for watching.